What's going on, everyone? I hope I find everyone very, very well per usual during this time period. All right, guys, so here is the collective energy update regarding the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius in November 2018 from November 16th to December 8th. Now, I realize I'm a little bit late here regarding presenting this information to you guys, but I was divinely guided to deliver this information or this energy update at this specific time period. Not sure why, but we're just gonna go with it because I'm spirit led and divinely guided. Alrighty, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break this down into two separate sections. The first one is going to be from November 16th to November 29th, which has already pretty much happened. And then the second section is going to be between November 30th and December 8th. So these two timelines here I'm going to speak of regarding the energy that has manifested and that we are working through and creating for these two time periods or two timelines. And the reason why I'm breaking it up into two sections here is for simplistic reasons, and also so you guys can see how the energy works and how what we're working through here and the point of this specific Mercury retrograde cycle or Mercury retrograde transit, I should say. Because between November 16th to November 29th is when Mercury was still in Sagittarius, which is ruled by the nakshatra in Vedic astrology, the nakshatra Mula, which so happens to also be ruled by the South Node or Ketu. And the time period from November 30th to December 8th is when Mercury moved back into Scorpio. And the nakshatra here is Jyeshtha, and this is also so happened to be ruled by Mercury. So, saying all of this, I don't want to use all of these astrological and Vedic astrology terminology words and jargon for simplistic reasons for you guys. I don't want anyone to get confused, so we're just going to do it by date. All right, guys. So between November 16th and November 29th, we can call this time that has passed the power to destroy. And the area as to which this is ruled by, or the area of the sky that this is ruled by, as previously stated, is ruled by the South Node, which is kind of reverting back to our old imprints. It's also ruled by, this area of the sky is also ruled by the deity regarding disillusional destruction. Now here, guys, we are being asked to exercise hostility to the universe. We can also look at this as like the death of the inhibiting destructive ego. We can also look at this as like an awakening and look at it like that. Because one part of us knows and recognizes, guys, that there's a problem regarding whatever that is for you during this time, what comes up for you guys. Yet though, guys, we persist in justifying it, or we persist upon justifying it where we're driven by desire. Here we are warring and sparring with our own self, or sparring with the self. And the reason why we go through this process, or we feel like this, is because we feel like we are robbed of something that was either rightfully ours, or we feel robbed of how things should have been, or how things should have turned out. But the only reason why we feel robbed of it is because it's merely a perception. And this perception is coming from the inhibiting and destructive ego. So basically what we're doing, guys, or what we have done during this time period is we are ridding ourselves of the egocentric mind. And we can kind of look at that as like the manifester of desire. Here we are like bringing awareness to the egocentric mind to finalize its destruction. Because, you know, we tend to fall back on the egocentric mind, and we can kind of call this the familiar desire. And throughout this process too, guys, you know, what we do is we fall into victim mentality, you know, victimhood. We start to panic and we start to then look externally for what the issues are, what can be, but we're not looking internally due to the egocentric mind. But here, guys, it's where we can very much say things to the effect of, why are all of these bad things happening to me? And the reason why we fall into this victim mentality, we fall back into it, is because ultimately, guys, we lack awareness of understanding regarding our spiritual path and regarding what are the lessons that are to be taught and learned. And here also, too, guys, like we then attempt to like fix it. Regarding when I say fix it, it's more of like trying to make it happen the way that we feel it should happen. But what we're actually doing here, guys, is we're fighting this spiritual lesson that is being divinely guided and given to us regarding breaking this timeline or this paradigm that no longer serves us and that propels us forward on our spiritual path. And this has a lot to do with like surrounding awareness and wisdom, because that is what is then gained when we begin to finally recognize the roots of these situations, of these circumstances that we're going through. Because we keep hitting brick wall after brick wall after brick wall after brick wall. And finally, we then hopefully come to the conclusion like, okay, why is this happening? Because I'm tired of creating the same timeline. And here is, like I said, is where we begin to finally get down to the root of things, to gain an understanding. So this is the initiation of that, which is then going to shatter the egocentric mind. Now, between November 30th and December 8th, we can call this time period the power to rise and conquer. And the area of the sky as to which this manifests is ruled by Mercury. Kind of ironic, right? And here, this area of the sky is also ruled by the deity regarding the protector of destruction. Pretty interesting, the protector of destruction. Now, here, guys, between this time, what we are doing is we're learning about wisdom and the strength of our own will. Because two things happen here, guys. Or what we learn is from two types of situations and scenarios. The first one being knowing and recognizing when we have free will and when free will is actually available to us, but only when it is appropriate. When I say appropriate, meaning when that situation arises and we recognize that we can apply our free will. The second thing is realizing sometimes that things are just what they are and it is what it is, and having acceptance and also realization that things are going to happen the way that they do when we don't have any control, or when we cannot impose our free will because it's not appropriate regarding the time. Now, guys, here is where we start to listen to the wisdom around us. And we start to realize that if we can't do anything about it, we must then surrender to it. However, on the contrary, regarding our free will and when it's appropriate, here's where we recognize where the choice that is being presented to us regarding using our willpower or the strength of our will in the form of our free will upon the situation or scenario or situation. And how we do this, guys, regarding the discernment between the two is we can call this like 3 mental inputs, because this is a way that we either look at these situations that come up for us. And these 3 mental inputs are a way for us to get to recognize when we can use our free will and when we must surrender. Now, these 3 mental inputs have a lot to do with the first one being looking at things with the positive mind, the second being looking at things with the negative mind, and the third being looking at things with a neutral mind. Now, regarding the positive input or the positive mind, this is when we are only focusing on the advantage of the situation. Being too optimistic, just being like, everything's going to be great and fine. Being that type of creating or looking at things from that type of vibration. The second being the negative input through the negative mind is when we only focus on the disadvantage of the situation. When we're that individual where we only look at the bad. Oh my God, it's gloomy and it's doomy and this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Oh my God, it's going to be horrible when we set that type of vibration. Now, the third being the neutral input or the neutral mind or through the neutral mind. And here, guys, is where and when we use sound judgment. Because here is when we then transform and we actually consider the input of the positive and the negative mind. But here we are not fully influenced by either one more than the other. So it's more of an integration of the positive and negative mind by taking them into consideration and integrating them. And here, guys, is when we utilize the neutral input with the neutral mind. And here is when we actually recognize what we must do and what's actually best for the situation and where we finally see things clearly. So the object here is to look at situations with a neutral input or with a neutral mind. Success and achievement gained here regarding our wisdom and the strength of the will, or when to surrender and when we can impose our free will. This is only gained regarding the success and achievement of it, not necessarily through our strong will or through the strength really of our will, but it's gained specifically through our awareness and through our perspective of really the truth of the situation. And by looking at it with the neutral mind, with the neutral input, and recognizing and utilizing the proper usage of our senses as to whether we must withdraw, aka surrender, or when we actually have the option or when it's appropriate to impose our free will upon the situation or circumstance. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and pull some cards for some guide or some more guidance regarding how to approach this Mercury retrograde here. Now, everything that I just spoke of and I gave to you guys, the information that I gave to you guys has a lot to do with, guys, regarding finding our truth and the process of how we find it, and regarding the process of how we know what the hell we want to do and how we know that that is our truth. So that's the entire process collectively. And all of that, a lot of it came from, just psychic downloads, and also it came from astrology, guys, and the nakshatras and the integration of Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So let's see what we have here. All right. What guidance, Lord, do you have for us during this time, Father? What may come up? What should we be aware of? Okay. Let's see. Yeah, guys, finding our truth, and that was the process of how we do it. I'm being guided to pop out one more, I'm going to say. One more card. There we go. Okay, I think it's like a pair here or something to that effect. Let's see these two first. Okay, so the first one is awareness. And then the second, interesting, silence. Okay, awareness and silence as a pair here. And the second being, I love it, integration. And also, interesting, aloneness reversed here. Okay. So, shoot. Hey, everything popped out that needed to, right? through our own awareness, guys. This is everything that we just spoke of is giving us awareness. It's causing us to finally be aware of things. And it's interesting how from the first time period, which was November 16th to November 29th, the power to destroy, that's bringing about the beginning of the awareness. And it requires silence. When I say silence, what it means is silence regarding really digging deep within ourselves and going into the confines of our subconscious and really saying, okay, why is this happening to me? And why is this happening over and over and over again? And why is this becoming issues and problems for me? And why is this energy not changing? And why are these people being brought into my life? And what vibration am I setting out that then is being returned to me? And finally, having enough and being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's when we then silence ourselves to gain awareness by beginning to dig deep. Now, between November 30th and December 8th, the power to rise and to conquer. It's through the integration, guys, and the integration of the three mental inputs. You know, the negative, positive, and the neutral mind. Looking at things from a different perspective because we now have awareness. We're trying to gain the awareness. And when we quiet our mind and when we actually, the saying, guys, is coming through, what is it? If you listened as much as you talk, you maybe learn a thing or two. That's kind of coming through. Now, the reason why that's coming through is because sometimes we need to listen more regarding our own subconscious, because that's where we're going to gain the awareness and the self-awareness that we need to actually change that, right? Or to look through that and to refine it and to filter through it. Now, going back to the integration here, for the time period of the 30th, November 30th to December 8th is the integration of everything and the three inputs that we just spoke of. Now, when we integrate all of this energy and we integrate the three inputs, and when we finally realize what it is that we need to do, and when we become aware and we observe, we're no longer alone. This is the Hierophant, I'm sorry, it's interesting. This is the Hermit card in traditional tarot. We no longer need to go and find our truth and to be in solace and to feel like we're doing it on our own, because we've given ourselves that room to actually do the work and to put the work in. And the end result is great, guys, because then we know what our truth is. We don't have to scream about it. And it's our truth to own. And when we integrate all of that, that's when we end up changing our timelines. And that's when we end up shifting our vibration. And when things come to us that are great for us and appropriate for us, because we put the work in. And we recognize through awareness what's really going on here. What the end result here, guys, is, like I said, knowing your truth, standing in it, and knowing what it is, and knowing why you're standing in it. And when we finally, guys, take emotional responsibility for our active participation within the situation, that's when we are no longer alone. Now, when we look at this card here, alone meaning being in a room full of people, having individuals around you, but still feeling alone. Because you're gaining understanding now. But we must purge things out. We must go through this process of shattering the egocentric mind by being on our own path and by not speaking of it, because it's our own shit that we need to own and our own imprints that we need to break, and there are our own paradigms that need to be shattered. because it's some of us love to be alone, and it's great to be alone, and we must do this work on our own. But the end result is you no longer feel like that. The bottom of the deck here is interesting. Going with the flow in reverse, which I actually find here pretty cool, or to be pretty, it's very relatable or poignant, I feel, to the reading here. Because when we don't go with the flow, we get the exact opposite of this. And then we create almost out of autopilot or on autopilot. We create the same damn fucking situations over and over and over again. And that's when we then fall into victim mentality. Why is this happening? And it's because of this person, and he or she did this, and he or she did that. Yes, that was the reaction of that individual, but you manifested that individual into your life because that's the vibration you set out. And the universe, when we're so focused, guys, on what we do not want, and we're so focused on that, and we put that energy out, you will be presented with those situations to make that true, to show you that it's true, that that's not what you, or that is what you do not want. And you're going to be given those situations to reign that true. You're a co-creating being. You manifest things, you know, like we all do. But when we go with the flow, like we did here, putting the work in and finally listening to our higher self and to our spiritual guidance, and when we go with that flow, you know what I mean? We end up not feeling or being alone, not only with other individuals, but also within our own self. At the end of the day, that's what really matters. How comfortable are you within your own skin, and how comfortable and passionate are you regarding self-worth and self-preservation? All right, guys, that's your energy update here. Was a little bit long, but here's your collective energy update for the Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius for November 2018 from the 16th of November to December 8th. All right, guys, as always, God bless and love and light.